Mm. Hello, welcome back. My name is Carlos, and I'm on a mission to remake Zelda for the NES, this time on 3D. Right? This is part 8. Today, I'm gonna be showing you what I've done between the last stream and today. I actually did a little bit of progress on enemy AI. I'm gonna show you a little bit of everything, and then I'm gonna move forward. I'm starting to work on the combat system. And well, I mean, without further ado, I can give you a brief recap. If this is the first time you join, let me show you what I have so far. Just quickly here, let's look at the map. So as you know, the Legend of Zelda has this very iconic map in which you have lakes, forests, mountains, castles, dungeons, trees. You have enemies everywhere. You have fairy fountains. You have waterfalls. You have graveyards. And everything that you can see here, I made it in Magika Voxel, in voxels, which are the 3D representation of pixels. And for example, in here, the dungeon number 3, if I remember correctly. So this is the entrance. This is the Armoses statues that protect the castle, and then you have here the woods, right? Like the dried up woods right here. And then in here you have the graveyard with all the graves. This is where you get like the strongest sword later on in the game. You have dungeon number 6, one of the most difficult ones, as you know. And yeah, essentially the map is done. The map is complete. Took a while and took a lot of polygons and voxels and getting artistic in some way. But I'm pretty happy with what it is there. I'm sure at the end, when I'm kind of tying loose ends and making the game look better overall, I'm gonna come back to the map and give some more, you know, fixes and enhancements here and there. For example, I have these doors to stores, to caves. They don't work yet. Right now, they're just placeholders, like a black square right there. I need to make sure that Link can actually go through them and interact with whatever is supposed to be on the other side of said door. The waterfall so far is one of my favorite features right now. The game is not running, so you can just see these effects, but normally when it's running, it looks a little bit better. Yeah, so essentially, this is what I'm going for. And right now, as you can see, I'm using this space here in the desert because it's open, it's wide open. So I'm kind of testing the AI of the enemies that I made in Magika Voxel, and I'm going for the same similar patterns, movement, attack, reaction times of the enemies than in the original game. So, for example, as you can see, I have genies, which is the goats, and lionels, the blue ones and the red ones. So, some of the most durable enemies in the game. So, I've been testing with those because those are the ones with the most stamina, so I can stab them more times and see, how they react to my attacks. But if I show you all the craziness that's been the last few days, let me just activate all the enemies that I have in this area right here. And let's have a quick look what it looks like right now. So if I hit play, and this is another thing that I've been able now to connect to the 8-bit DO, and I can play with it. I can move Link around. Enemies still cannot hurt me, right? And for the most part, enemy AI is kind of done, right? I went around, I look at the game in detail, say what kind of movement, in what situations they do what, and I replicate it. So I added each enemy has its own AI script. Funnily enough, you can share some AIs because, for example, Octoroks and Goblins and Lionels share the same attack patterns, the same movements. They just shoot different things, right? So the Lionels will be shooting swords. The As you can see, this guy just shot one. The Goblins here, they shoot arrows, and the Octoroks, like the red one right here, this one at some point is gonna shoot a stone, right? And he does it. Other enemies, they don't shoot things, but for example, Genie is one of the simplest one, the ghost. The Genie, actually, he's just gonna be walking around. I'm gonna follow in the scene editor, is probably easier, right? For example, let's follow this Genie. He's just moving around randomly. If he hits a wall, he turns. And then when he's moving forward, at any given time, he can make the decision to just, like he did, turn back and then 180 degrees or 90 degrees. He's a little bit of a persistent one, so there's still glitches here and there, like this genie was trying to go through the wall. I mean, he's a ghost. I understand why he wants to do that. He should be able to do that. Um, and then, for example, the most interesting ones, to me at least, is the levers. These ones right here. So these guys actually are in their natural habitat here in the desert. And as you can see, they walk around, and at some point, they bury themselves. They burrow themselves underground. If I kind of go and look at here, normally a player would not see these, right? This is just for editing. And they can actually traverse underneath the ground, and then at some point decide to come back out, and that's when Link can actually attack them, and they can actually hurt Link as well. And then you have here, let me show you, this is called a P-hat. These guys have two states, in which the one right here, like hovering around, and the one stationary in the floor. Only when they're in the game, right? Only when they're stationary, you can actually attack them. And when they're flying around, they're immune to your sword attack. Probably because they're elevated, right? In the 2D game, you might not see that, but it looks like you're hitting it, but nothing happens. Maybe what the game developers went for is that, this guy is hovering above Link, so you cannot hit him, right? In the same plane. But in here, you can see it more clearly that it's flying around, and only when they come for a rest, come down here on the floor, is when we can actually take a stab and hit him. And then we have tektites, the arachnoid enemies right here, like this blue one and the orange one, which is the two varieties of tektites. And as you can see, all they do is once again randomly decide to turn to a certain direction, randomly decide when to jump, because they don't walk, all they do is jump, right? So they jump around the map, and they're scattered around the world. Right, so what else is there? Octoroks, like I say, they walk around, turn around, randomly stop and shoot. This is something that Octoroks, Lionels, and Moblins have in common. So they walk around, and before they shoot, they stop for a moment. And that signals the player that, he's going to attack you, so you better do something about it. Get out of the way. And then Armus here, this guy is like Genie. He's just walking around. He has no sword, no shooting anything. So he's just kind of walking back and forth. In the game, though, some Armuses are faster than others. I haven't implemented that yet. Right now, all my Armuses just... and these guys somehow decided to start flying around. Okay, so I need to fix that. Why are these tektites flying around? Okay, look, this is just part 8, right? So, I started this game not even a month ago. So there's gonna be errors, gonna be glitches. So this is what we're working on at the moment. I like that they can jump on cliffs and jump back down, but they should not be flying around like this guy. I don't know what he's doing there. So I'll fix all that. In the meantime, I'm going for the broad strokes, and then once we move forward and we start getting onto the more detailed work, I'll come back and refine all the logic, all the AIs of these enemies. Right now, luckily, these AIs are basic, right? So I can work on them rather quickly. So essentially, this is what I have worked in the last few days. And so Link can move around. There's one enemy that is not here, and I'm going to go show you. But you're not going to find it here. So I need to cross the forest, and I guess it's not here either. Where did I put that enemy? Wait, I thought it was here. Where is he? You might know who I'm referring to. Oh, maybe I put it in the other lake. The other lake that is down here. When you're traversing this, there he is. There is Zora. And he was actually shooting at me before, but for some reason he now is not doing so. And it's not working correctly yet. So essentially he just spawns when I'm at a certain distance. And Link can walk on water as it is right now. And I can actually attack. Because yes, that's the other thing. So Link can actually attack. And I have now added some weight to the characters, some drag. So when I hit him, this guy can take quite a few hits before he dies. So the red lever can take two hits, one, two, and then he dies. Like there's no dying animation right now. It's just, again, I'm still working on that. One, two, three. If I can reach him, three. There you go. So that's the other thing I've been working on. Link can actually hurt the enemies. They can still not hurt Link, which right now Link has it really good. But that's gonna change soon enough, right? So even if they shoot at me, what I need to work on the enemies is when I hit them, there should be some invincibility frames, right? So you cannot just kind of bash him, stick the sword in him endlessly in a moment. In the game, you hit him, they flash for a few moments, and they invincible during that time. So you can go back again and try to secure another hit, except for the enemies, of course, that have very little health. Like, let me see, is there any Octoroks? Or, yeah, for example, the red Octorok is very weak, just one hit and he's gone. Actually, Tektites, all the Tektites, even the blue ones, they just have one heart of health, if you want to say it like that. Yeah, so these guys should go down with one hit. The P-hats, I can't remember. So yeah, I'm kind of cleaning the room here. One, two, and then this guy, and then this guy. Three, and hit him three times. One, two, three. I need to keep working on the camera because right now it kind of follows you this way. The good thing about this camera right now is can actually use. I don't need a stick to just control the camera. But yeah, so essentially this is the perspective you see. And these armors are just statues right now, but one of them is gonna come to life when I touch them later in the game. Yeah, so this is kinda where I'm at the moment. So I'm working on the combat. So the next thing I need to do, like I say, is well, number one, Link should be getting damaged as well. Link should be knocked back when he's hit. There should be some invincibility frames, and the invincibility frames in this game are shown by transitioning many colors at the in 1 second or so. So while that's happening, Link is invincible. Okay, and then this guy, it's 9 hits actually with this sword. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Death. There you go. Okay. So yeah, so what do you think? This is where I'm at the moment. So that was a little bit of work to understand the AIs, kind of like put them in code. Look at all these dudes, and this is all only the enemies in the outside world, in the overworld. I actually had a look, and the enemies in the castles, in the dungeons, are more plentiful. So there are way more, and on top of that, there's bosses. So there's boss battles that I'm gonna have to replicate in due time. But the first thing I need to do is to finish the outside world, and once that's done, I'm gonna start working on the castles. But that could take a little bit of time because I really wanna just finish this part. But at least once I'm working on the castle, I'll have the combat system in place. It'll be fine by then. All their drops, for example, enemies, when you kill them, normally they drop rupees or they drop hearts and bombs. They could also drop in the game, right? So yeah, so essentially this is where I'm at the moment. Yeah, this is what the waterfall looks like when the game is playing. Yeah, it's kind of cool. All right, and then something very iconic in the game, in the original Legend of Zelda, is your sword, right? So you have your sword attack. You're going to be stabbing people, and not people, but bosses and mobs and monsters, right? So when you stab them, when you have full hearts, you shoot a beam, kind of like what the Lionels are doing right now. See how they have this sword that they shoot forward. So enemy has that ability. Link has that ability as well when he has full heart, when he has full health. So what I'm gonna do for probably tonight, it's work on that. So I'm gonna see if I can add Link the ability to shoot beams with his sword. Later on, I'm gonna implement the health status. So it will only work when Link has full health. But for now, I'm just gonna try and make him have the beam, the sword beam, anytime. So anytime he attacks, it's going to be a sword beam, and the sword beam should have the same effect as a normal sword. It should hit the enemy, it should push them back, it should subtract 1 point of HP. So I'm going to start working on that. And to do that, let me have a look at Link first. Let me have a look at Link. So Link, this is Link, and let me show you more or less how this works. So now here you can see the prefab. So this is the model of Link. You see some glitches here because there's a few model stack on top of each other. It's Link, step right, step front, standing still, and also Link stabbing. It should be stacked in there, which is this one. It's just invisible, right? So like this. And then, as you can see, there's some like invisible boxes here, and they all have a function. So for example, there's one box around Link, this one. This box essentially is Link's um, area that he registers to be attacked. So if some enemy in the game touches him here in this box, is essentially going to count as Link being attacked. And then in front of Link, there's this other flatter box. It's called shield block. It's right here. So this is a trigger, right? So essentially it's invisible once you're running the game, but if an attack lands from this side, if it's a sword, no, not a sword, if it's a rock or an arrow, then the shield is going to deflect it. So later on in the future, I'm going to implement that. So for now, I'm just going to leave that trigger in there. And then this other trigger in here is called sword hitbox. I was very, well, I would say very generous with the hitbox of the sword, right? Because as you can see, the sword is really just here. But as it is right now, if the enemy is standing here when Link thrusts the sword forward, he's gonna get damaged. I'm gonna tweak this later, and to tweak that is very easy. So I will be just needing to tweak the size of this box itself, which is in this box collider. So for example, if I wanted to make it tighter, right, just really around the sword, then I would just really make it this big, right? So it's gonna be trickier to hit enemies now. The thing is that I noticed is if my hit zone is really small, in a 2D game is easier, but in a 3D game, this is kind of small. I noticed. Like there's a lot of times in which you're gonna be hitting enemies in a diagonal and you're not really going to hit them. So it's going to be trickier. And this is the reason why, at least for debugging, I'm going to increase the size of this box just while I'm working on refining and, the combat, how it's going to work. Right, so Link is starting to get a lot of logic and pieces in itself, which makes sense because he's the main character, the main protagonist. Right, and then there's also this script, right? So you can add scripts which add code to different parts of Link, different parts of the game, and those scripts are gonna add behavior. They're gonna tell exactly what to do under which circumstances to enemies, to Link, to the sword, etc. So, player sword. So this is what's attached here to the sword, and essentially, what it's doing is recognizing those hitboxes when it comes to life, when it awake, right? Recognize that there's gonna be the sword hitbox and a shield hitbox. The sword hitbox, it should be off by default. It should only be on, like flash on and off when you attack, right? Because I have left it true before without knowing it. And every time I just bump into an enemy without thrusting the sword, it will count as an attack. So that's not what I want. That's not what anybody wants. So I change it. And the attack of Link only lasts for 0.2 seconds. So if an enemy is in that box within that time frame, then the enemy is attacked. It triggers the enemy damage sequence. Okay, which it will be here, right? If you find an enemy, then enemy dot take damage, how much damage you're giving the enemy. At this point, this sword is just only taking 1 point of health, right? When you have the white sword and the magical sword, that number is going to be bigger. And then the hit direction. So this is a vector, a direction and a magnitude. to from where I'm hitting, right? Because if I hit the enemy from the side, then I'm gonna push him to the other side, right? So you're kind of like transferring the force uh, straight in a straight line. So in the original game, if you hit an enemy from the front, they just kind of retreat. But if you hit them from the side, I think they stay put. So I'm gonna have to kind of like go back to the game and see what's what. But I don't want you to just be able to bash an enemy, though they're gonna have the invincibility frames, I guess. So we'll see, right? So this is something that's gonna be refined. I'm gonna be coming back to these scripts uh, quite a lot. And as you can see, I have also AI Genie, AI Levers, AI Octoroks. But in the case of the Octoroks, for example, this one applies to Octoroks, Lionels, Armos. Armos, not quite. Armos is more like Genie. I need to update that. Yeah, Genie. Genie and Armos. And Armos. And Octorok is really just Octoros, Lionels, Moblins. Yep. And yeah, so every Octorok in the game is going to have this script. Is here is deciding when to turn, when to go forward, when to shoot. Like it's all randomized within, a parameter that feels correct to me after playing the game for so long, right? So right now, this is what they have. And also, if they collide with a wall or if they collide with a bush, turn around. Okay, just don't try to go through. So I don't know why Genie was kind of having troubles there when you saw when I was running the game because he has the same thing. So this is something that later on I'm going to refine. Okay, so let's go back to the sword. Right now, the sword is linked to Link's animation. So there's a thing called simple frame animation script that I made here, and most enemies, if not all, have it, right? This is kind of like cycling to all the frames that make the animation of the character, right? And then I have the player animator, which is exclusive for Link because Link is more involved, right? It's more convoluted. And in here I have, right, so the sword attack. The sword attack that I was talking about invoke this, right, so it turns on and off the collider, the trigger, right? And in here is where he actually would be hitting the enemy if an enemy is in there. So this is where I would like to shoot um, the beam. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna take, for example, in reference, my Octoroks, right? They have the projectile prefab. I'm gonna call it projectile prefab, so I can just put that one here as well. I'll add the tooltips a bit later here. I'm not gonna call it projectile prefab because it's like sword projectile, sword beam prefab, sword beam prefab. Okay, and that's gonna be in player sword, right? Sounds good. And then I'm gonna go back to the game after I save. And I'm gonna look for player and talking about the sword hitbox. So it's gonna be here, sword beam prefab. So in here I need to put the sword beam, the same one that the Lionels are shooting, because it's exactly the same. So the prefab ammo, and I have the sword beam is this one, and this one already has its own collider. Its behavior as a projectile, like as soon as I spawn it, it knows just to go forward, right? Yeah, so it's okay. So I just need to put that in the sword beam, put it here. Oops, and now I have access to that. Okay, and then let me see, instantiate. Right, so let's see. When, for example, when I'm working on these enemies have the shoot method, right? So enemies should have also Link should have the shoot method. So on trigger enter, sword attack, invokes true, invoke, right? So where should I trigger the, I think in here. I think in here. So I'm gonna make a new method. So shoot sword beam. And this one, normally there will be a check. For example, in here, check that Link has full health, right? If he does have full health, then execute this, right? So now I need to implement that. Private void shoot, what do I call it? Shoot sword beam. And I'm gonna instantiate and it has three arguments. So what do you want to instantiate? Well, Link sword prefab, which I added in the editor, and then where do you want to put it? I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I did here, which the spawn position is gonna be where Link is, plus a tiny bit forward, right? So it looks like the sword came out of the sword, not out of Link. So in here, this is the spawn position is where Link is, plus a tiny bit forward, which is this times 2. Spawn position, and do not rotate it. Like just keep the rotation that Link is kind of facing to. So let's see. So if I shoot the sword beam and save, okay, let me try that. So when you save your code, you come back to Unity, it compiles it. Doesn't take very long, but whenever you change something, provided there's no errors, it should register it. So now let's see. Ah ha ha ha! There you go. Pew pew pew. Pew, 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 pew. Actually looks like it's way too ahead of Link. Can you see it? Like it's... Oh, wow. I have a machine gun in here. Okay, so I need to also make sure that there's only one sword, Link sword, in the world. So I probably need to call it something else so it doesn't... And as you can see, it does not... Does it cause any damage? No, of course not. Nope. I see. Okay, so this is gonna be something that I need to also implement, right? Like when you hit this, do they disappear when I hit enemies? It does not, it just goes straight through. So I need to fix that too, right? But it looks good. So let me just kind of move it a little closer to Link. How I just won. It's a little bit. Let me see. Let me look at this way. Get out of the editor of the prefabs. Focus on Link. Let me see. Like that. I'm gonna do this. Have both. It looks like it's coming a bit too high. Okay, so maybe I need to lower it a tiny bit. So the spawn position, transform position, right? How can I? Let's see why. Maybe I just need to add this part. So spawn position in Y is this yay from the floor. So let's look again. So let's see. Man, there's way too much stuff going on. No, it's even worse. Why is it so high? I don't know. So, plus equals, maybe just equals 75. Because maybe it shouldn't be, it should be lower than, right? Yep. So look, let's try again. Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, there's a lot of trial and error. Okay, that's a bit lower. Yeah, okay, let me just a notch. Just a notch. 5. Let's see. Anyway, if that's not exactly, this is one of the things that I'll come back and refine later on. But for now, I'm shooting a sword. Oof. Okay, that's much better. Yeah, that really looks like it's coming out of the sword. Let me see. Guys, get out of the way. Yeah, 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 we got it. Okay. Yeah, excellent. Okay. All right, so that's there. Cool. So I got the sword beam. The sword beam has been instantiated, and the sword beam by default comes with this projectile script. And essentially, this projectile just has a rigid body, has a speed, a direction, everything. If it collides with something, it just disappears on collision. Uh-huh. But not on trigger. Okay. On trigger, enter. Sword beam. Shall I make just like a different prefab for link? And that one give it a, like some other behavior. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Let me see. So I'll leave the one, so this one stays as is, but then the other one, I'm gonna call it link sword beam. So this one can stay for the line of as it is, but for link, let's just make it a little bit more customized because it has more logic to it. So I'd rather just keep it separate. Link thrust, link step, link heat block, this one, and link sword beam. Link sword beam. Have link sword beam, right? Okay, and then link sword beam is gonna have its own logic. Or what? Or can I just put player sword? No, it has to have... Let me make another script. If I can consolidate it later with another one, I'll do it. But for now, I think the sword beam itself could have its own logic. So create, scripting, mono behavior, link sword beam, player sword beam, player sword beam. Okay, so name convention should be okay. So if I'm calling instead of sword beam, let's just be consistent with our naming, right? So instead of link sword beam, let's call player sword beam. And in doing that, I need to reassign it because when you change the name of a prefab, you have to reassign it. And that is back where link is. I already have so much stuff in here. Sword hitbox, and I think I'm okay at. Yeah, okay. Player sword. Okay, Unity was clever enough to update the name. Right. So, link sword beam. So it's gonna be different from Lionel because it's gonna have this script. Player sword beam. Yes. Okay. So it not only has a generic projectile, it's also gonna have some logic. Like it's gonna check what kind of sword Link has, for example. Like this is the wood one, the white one, the magical one, and also, so it has a collider. Is it trigger? Mm, it should be a trigger, right? And rigid body, yep. I'm gonna actually give it some push, some force. Linear damping 0, mass 5. Okay. Player sword beam. Player sword beam. There you go. Okay. So I just need to have a look at these three scripts. I like visualizing, and this is why I like big monitors and sometimes double, triple screens just to see things globally. But then that can also be quite distracting. Okay, so this thing has a rigid body, right? Did we say link sword beam has a rigid body, right? So player just like in the projectile, but the projectile already takes care of that. Right, so the projectile has a rigid body, it's gonna do all that. On collision enter. Yeah, no, in here, I'm kinda gonna be doing something like this. Private void on trigger enter other. Yeah, if I'm hitting an enemy, if other dot game object dot compare tag, it's if I hit an enemy, then mm, 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 then I'm gonna get position. Right, so you have to find other punto, no, other punto get component enemy, right? So the other punto other enemy take component enemy. Okay, so it's enemy equal no game object. Game object enemy. Game space. Oh, fine. Are you using a directive assembly reference? It's an enemy. Get component enemy, right? Okay, maybe just like a variable, like whatever. Like it just doesn't have to be a game object. And then if the enemy is actually there, if it's not null, then we can add the same logic as the vector. Vector 3 hit their direction, which is other transform position minus transform position, right? So you know where the enemy was and when the sword is coming from, and then you normalize that, and that gives you I need to open parentheses. System collections. I hit there. What's the problem here? Ambiguous reference. Unity engine system numerics. Why do I have system numerics? I don't need that. Okay. No need to freak out there, Unity. Okay, so I have that. And then enemy dot take damage. And it's gonna be, I'm gonna get this from a global position, but right now I'm just gonna take 1 damage. Okay, I'll just probably put it here. It should get this from somewhere else. Right now, it's just gonna take 1 enemy of damage and hit direction. Okay, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if that works. Hopefully. We see some changes there. Scripts attached to the beam, which is spawned by, oh, let's change the name. No, let's change the zone game object player sword beam prefab, and I need to put that here so it continues to work. And here as well. All right, let's see. Let's see if there's any changes. Play. Make this a little bit bigger. Now let's. What? Player source has not been assigned. The variable player source beam or player source has not been assigned. Really? Because I changed the name. Yeah. Huh? Wait. The variable player source beam has not been assigned. Hang on. Player source beam prefab of player source has not been assigned. I see. So, source hitbox. Oh yeah, player sword beam. Got it. Let's see. Hopefully that does it. Alright, so let's start shooting around. Nope. It's going through. Like the sword, it's working. Why? Maybe I should make it a trigger. I see. So, for example, projectiles here. Component repo, Octorock, right? When they are shooting stuff, instantiate. Yeah, but that's that. So it's almost projectile. Projectile is on collision enter, not on. Also, what the hell is this? Onger enter. No, no. On trigger enter. What happened there? Let's see. So play. Right. So. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Let me see. Did it work? Is it hitting or not? Man, in 3D is like way more difficult. Ah, no. Okay, it's not hitting it. Why? Let's see. Does it have a hit collider? The player sword beam. Let's see. Maybe it's not good. Nope. There it is. Rigid body box collider is trigger. Maybe I won't make it a collider. For example, rock. It was not a, yeah. So maybe this one shouldn't be. It should be on collision. Let me just give one last try with that, and if it doesn't work, I'll just change to collision instead of trigger. Yeah. Nope. It's for some reason it's not triggering anything. I should probably put like some debugs. It is not. Because why? I mean, I do have a rigid body. Like, right? Like, I don't really need it. Like, it's just okay. I'll do the same, but on instead of trigger on collision enter. Let's no save that. Void on collision enter. Right, and essentially I want the same, except that instead of other, it should be Instead of other is collision. Collision, collision, ah, collision. Nope, collision. Uh, 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 uh. Get component. I cannot do that. So what can I do? Collision dot collider game object. Get okay. So game object get component enemy. Is that better? And I call this and I disable that. God, at least it's not screaming at me. So let's see. See what happens. Oh, it's not really hitting them, is it? Once again. Oh, no. Nope. He's just going straight through. Pew, 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 pew. And are the swords being destroyed when they hit? Because at least that should be okay, right? Where am I? Where am I? Am I there, right? So if I shoot, they're not going through the wall. No. I see. So, we'll check again. Hmm. Enemy hit there. Enemy take damage hit there, right? And enemy take damage. Add force. Knockback force. So that should work already here. Let me just put some debug logs, see if it's working. Debug log collided with collision game object name plus see if it's actually, and then here let's put some triggers. Though I disabled the trigger thing, so it's not gonna work. Other game object, blah blah blah. Instead of that, triggered with compare tag enemy. Collision game object compare tag enemy. Okay. Tag, how do I do? Player sword if other compare tag enemy on trigger enter collider. Let me just have this one as a reference. Oh my god. So it's on trigger, right? This is the sword. So when you hit with the sword, right? If other, no, it's not enemy, don't do anything. If other, get component. But I was doing that, right? I was doing that, and this trigger was being called. But in this one, it seems like I'm not really calling it at all. Unity system convention XML serialization. Why? Why is it adding these namespaces? Okay. Let's see. Let me just delete what I don't need. Tap. No, so sword. Shoot sword beam. Shoot sword beam. Player sword. And just spawn that, instantiate. So just essentially this comes to life. And in projectile, right? On collision, enter other. Destroy game object. So this is working. So maybe, maybe I just need to do this. But then, all right, let me see. Let me try something. So copy, collision, collision into collision, other. Oh, okay, so let's do that, other. And then it can be exactly the same as this one. Other, 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 other. Collision, other. Right, this if game object is there, you compare tag enemy, other dot compare tag enemy. That is just the same way to write things. Other compare tag enemy, essentially that, right? Collision is not defined. Collision is not defined. Uh, other. Can I? Hang on. Other tag is other dot uh, compare tag. Don't compare. Oh, okay. So that is a different kind of collision. Enter on collision. Enter on collision. Other. Okay. Oh no. Let me see if at least the debug logs are doing something at all. Joys of debugging. I need to put some like background music or something here, right, guys? Sorry, when I'm trying to think, I obviously cannot be talking too much. So sorry if it gets a little bit. Wait, collided with polyshape. So it is triggered with sword hitbox, collided with polyshape. Ah, triggered with sword hitbox. But it's not hitting, like it's hitting the trigger with player. Trigger with player. Maybe because, okay, what if I shoot it a lot further than the player, just to rule that out. Let's see. Yum, 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 yum. So spawn position should be, yeah. So I'm gonna put it like 3. So it's really, really outside the scope of the first collider. All right. 3. Whoa! Wow, that was interesting. Shoot these assholes! Oh, there. Collided with liver blue. It's not really damaging them. Trigger with player, collided with polyshape. Hmm. So when I hit them in the sword, yeah, it does say collided with armors. Hit enemy armors. Collided with poly shape. Okay, so if I put this triggered with player, collided with poly shapes. It's been triggered by the player. Mm, this is a why is it triggered with player? Let me try again. Just see how far is the sword spawning from Link. It's like way why triggered with player? Collided with player, triggered with player. Hmm. If other game object compare enemy, this is not. If other game object compare tab, enemy, yeah, that's correct. Tab. Ah, but with tag, and let me do the same here. Instead of name, let me see, tag with tag. Let's see. Right, so triggered with tag player, collided with tag enemy, tag wall. Oh, oh, it is working though. What? You see that? Maybe it's moving way too fast. Like it works sometimes. I have an idea. Cancel that. And let me just check these swords here. So those are the swords I'm shooting, right? Look at all that. You can see all the variations of the sword when it's flying. Okay, so this thing, sword default, it has box collider. Show me the box collider. Yeah, it's decent. And it's not trigger, so it's only gonna be colliding. Speed, lifetime, player sword, player sword beam, right? So it's there. Rigid body, use gravity, it's not kinematic. Exclude layers. Okay, so maybe something with layers. So the player sword beam, also the exclude layer overrides. Collision detection is a continuous dynamic. And also include layers, enemy, right? Exclude layers, well, player, I guess. So do not hit yourself. Okay, that's the player sword beam. And this is why it needs to be different than the Lionel sword beam, because that one, it obviously should damage Link. Oh, oh, there it is. There it is. It's pushing them. Check it out. Pew! Oh my god. Why does it feel like it's working sometimes and not always? Wasn't it working at the trigger player? Am I hitting anybody? Am I... Why does it feel like I'm actually hitting sometimes? Yep. It's hitting the levers. I can kill the levers, but nothing else. Okay. See, I kill a lever with the sword, with the beam. There you go. So levers have something that other enemies do not. Yeah, levers I can hit with my sword beam. Let's see if I can hit this blue one. See? Yeah, yeah, I can hit it. Okay, all right. So something's off. Something's weird. Levers. What is different about the levers? Levers. Blue. These guys are tag. They're not in enemy layer. Are my enemies in? Oh yeah, they are. Default. Enemy. Oh, so only the ones player sorbing. Maybe I should not exclude player. What else is different from the levers? The levers have rigid body, use gravity, freeze position, freeze rotation, includes layer nothing, exclude layer enemy. How about Genie? Genie is layer enemy. Uses gravity. Uh-huh. For Lionel's wall layer, nothing. So this includes layer, nothing enemy. Hmm, interesting. Interesting. No. But I can kill the levers I can kill. You see? Yeah, the levers I can hit them. What's going on? Because they're on a different layer. But shouldn't that be layer default? Tag enemy. They're all tagged enemy, right? The only difference I can see right now is that I forgot to put them in this layer. Exclude layers enemy. Genie exclude layers enemy, player sword beam. Gonna layer enemy projectile. Ah, player projectile. Should be, yep. Projectile, tag them. I don't know. I don't have a tag for this one right now. Continuous dynamic. Continuous. Okay, excludes the player. Box collider. Ah, this is the problem. It's excluding the enemies. Exclude the player and include enemy. Right. Exclude player, include enemy. Okay, so I think the code is fine. The problem is these flags here in the rigid bodies. Uh, Oof. Okay, now I can't hit the levers. Oh no, I can still hit them. Only the levers. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Why can I only hit the levers? Check that again. Player sword beam. Player projectile. Sword beam, enemy projectile. A sword beam. Exclude layer. Let me just not exclude anything. Oh, once again, no. I'm excluding. This is the problem. So exclude the player, include the enemy. Exclude the player, include the enemy, and the player sword beam. Ah, we're gonna get there. One day. Promise. Oh, 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 oh. I think we got it. Nice. Look, I'm killing mofos now with my sword. Let's see. Ah, so much shit. So much shit in here. Yeah, okay. Now I'm hitting them. Now I'm hitting them. Call of Duty style. Check it out. Okay, so I had my layers all mixed up. Thanks to the levers that I forgot to put the layers on. Okay, it's something I need to keep an awareness. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I can deal with this. I can live with this part. Okay, and the ghost has a 9. So he needs 9 hits of the wooden sword. By far the enemy with the most resilience. And then being the blue Lionel, I think is 6. The red one is 4. 1, 2. Yeah, he was already weakened. How about the P-hats? Okay, so the code was fine. The problem was all my flags in the rigid bodies and the layers. Okay, so at least the problem is now. So I can still hit them with the sword, right? Wow! Did you see that? Bounce me back. All right, cool. So I need now to include levers in the enemy layer. Yes, yes. Zora has to be in the enemy layer. Perfect. Okay. Sword beam, right? Player sword beam. What if I give it like more mass? Is it gonna give more like punch to it? I don't think so because it's calculated by a variable in the enemy script. This one, the knockback force, is for all of them is the same. But just Just for good measure, let's have a look. Yeah, but it's fine. I like it because in the original game, it's just really just one punch. Oh wow, the levers are pushing me upwards when they emerge from where I am. It's interesting because if I hit them on the side, it's just okay. Yeah, that's okay. Look, that's fine. And also, I need to make sure that I can only shoot one sword at a time. So the sword, I'm gonna leave it some time to live. When it's spawn, like start counting, maybe 2 seconds. After that, it disappears, even if it doesn't collide with anything. Because if I shoot one from here, it's gonna crash when you get to what? Like the end of the world. Look at those guys go. That's more than 2 seconds right there. There she go. They're still, and they're gonna collide at the bottom of the screen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you. It's a different angle, right? So that's Link, and it's been pushed around. I wanna shoot some beams from here, and in here you can see them all go all the way and collide all the way over here. So I don't want that because that would mean that for the whole time your sword is traveling from end to end of Hyrule, you won't be able to shoot again. So I think 2 seconds is fine. 2 seconds is fine. And then you can shoot another one. It looks like these guys are escorting me. Now, let me go have a look if I can kill Zoras as well. With this, I think I should be able to. I don't see why not, but maybe I'm forgetting something because I haven't really been killing Zoras that much. I want to give the enemies like an explosion animation, like it's gonna explode in voxels. Okay, so there's Zora is. Come on, shoot at me. Too slow. I think I killed it. Is there any more? Any more? So when you kill them, it takes a while for them to respawn. But I know where there's some more Zoras. There's some more Zoras in the south. I'm also gonna show you how I did that. Let's see. Yeah, there's one over there. I kind of wanna keep this machine gun sword fighting. Oh, right. So I need to modify the script because right now Link has a radius around him that triggers it. That trigger these auras. If I it seems like if I look at them directly, they disappear. That's not what I wanted at all. Please let me kill some Zoras. I actually can walk on water, so yeah, let's go. There, this one. Come on. Nice. Dead. Look at all the swords. So now, I think those swords are just gonna be spawn forever. And that is a problem. Oh no, they're dying, they're dying. Yeah, you can see. Look, in here you can see how many active game objects you have in the scene. So here, player sorbet, player sorbet, player sorbet. If you are not careful with this kind of stuff, and they never collide and they never die, you at some point, depending on the scale of your game, can run out of memory. So you have to make sure. See, they're dying, 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 dying now, and that's because in the projectile here, a lifetime, 15 seconds, 15 seconds lifetime. So I think it's way too long, way too long. Because then enemies from the other side of Hyrule is going to be shooting at you, and we don't want that. Now let me show you what I was saying about the Zoras. I'm just gonna stop the game. And so the Zoras, obviously they live in the water, right? And they can only spawn in the water. Um, with and that's what sets them aside from the other enemies. So I made these Zora spawn zones, And when I click on one of them, you can see which one I'm talking about. So as you can see, the lake right now looks pink. And that just helps me to know what I'm talking about because there's like different spawning zones. For example, if I click on another one, there's this section here and this section there, and the ones at the very back of the map, right? So well, the way it works is they have this script attached. So I create a zone in here, a trigger, a box collider, right? And it has this enemy spawn zone script, and it does not only applies to Zoras. It will apply to every enemy because, as you know, some enemies spawn in some areas. It's not all for you know all around, like free for all. Like these guys right here. This is just for testing. Essentially, in the desert, you have the levers, and when you go to like the forest, you have the moblins, and in the graveyard, you have the ghosts, the genies, and so on and so forth. So that's it. So I'm gonna be using these zones everywhere, and starting with the Zoras, right? So essentially, what happens is I go to the player enemy spawn zone, and right now, this number varies, right? Like how many in that zone, how many enemies can spawn, right? And I'm gonna be in this case, it's gonna be Zoras, 5 Zoras at the same time. It's a bit much. And then they have uh, a, a logic that kind of like understands the bounds of the zone they're in, and then choose a random point. And the other component to that is if, for example, I look at Link all the way here, so selecting Link, you see there's a sphere around Link. This is just like a radius. So if enemies in this radius should spawn, if they're outside that radius, they should despawn. Once again, because the other option is just to have all enemies alive all at once, but that's very wasteful. And I don't know, like I want this to work on a browser in the end, so I don't want to run out of memory or have any problem like that. So you just kind of really care about the enemies around that zone. Like if you can't see way past that, it's kind of pointless to have them because all their logic is running, right? All the scripts they have attached, so you have to keep an eye on that. So yeah, so essentially Link triggers their spawnage, right? So yeah. Okay, so my homework for next time is gonna be when I hit an enemy, I wanna have the flashing animation. I wanna make sure that Link is not machine gunning the sword. I wanna make sure that when Link is hit, he also takes damage by being pushed back and having that transition that, you know, the frames, the colors that Link cycles through when he gets hit, and also enemies do that as well. So just make the combat work. Make the combat work, right? Yeah, so imagine that I finish the combat. What's next? I can do the spawning zones, right? So I'm gonna be adding the spawning zones for all enemies. That's gonna take a while because essentially I'm gonna tell in this place spawn moblins, in this place spawn octoroks, in this place spawn genies, so on and so forth. So that's just tedious. It's not difficult, it's just tedious. But then that means that Link can actually go around the map killing people and being damaged. Like at some point, Link's gonna be killed. So at that point, I can start implementing the hard systems, right? Like the health system. And then and then when that's done, I'm gonna start working on the weapons. So all the loot that you get from the dungeons come way later, right? At first, I'm gonna finish the overworld, but I'm gonna implement the weapons that you get on the dungeons, and I'm gonna make them work, right? Like the boomerang, the candle, the bomb, the bow and arrow. What else is there? There's a bigger shield, so the shield mechanic I also need to implement that. So if I'm hit with a projectile head on, I should block it. But if I have the little shield, is it won't block the Zora's energy beam, so to speak, right? Or the Lionel's swords. But if I do get the magical shield, which is way bigger, that one blocks everything, provided that the attack comes from the front. So I need to do that. Man, I need to do so much stuff. Like this is I mean, I'm happy because it looks like, the world's done, the enemies are there, they're moving around as they should, like they have their basic AI done, and they're shooting what they should be shooting. I can kill them around. So I'm making progress. I'm very happy because in less than a month, this is what I have, like 3 weeks of work on my part-time, because this is not my full-time job. I wish. I have a full-time job. I work in Japan. I live in Tokyo, and I work this after work. That's why I'm still dressed, in like business suits and attire, right? So it's just after work and then on the weekends. But this is new for me, like making a game live here. I mean, hopefully we'll get more traction as we move forward. There's gonna be, this is gonna be a long series because not only the outside world needs a lot of work and I have limited time, but also I want to do the dungeons. Having said that, and I've been saying this in every video so far, I'm not going to be able to release this game. I wish, like, not even for free, because Nintendo is going to immediately have a problem with that. This is not the first time Nintendo will take a fan project, so I do not want to get in trouble with Nintendo because Nintendo is notoriously litigious, and I do not want that at all. So this is a passion project. The Legend of Zelda is my favorite game of all times. I wish I have this game, and Nintendo I don't think is going to get around to make it, if ever. So I'm gonna have my own copy, and I wish, if if you guys wanna come to my house and we can play here, but this cannot leave my computer, I don't think. But I'm gonna be making these videos. I'm gonna make a full playthrough at the end, when it's all said and done and working. You never know. You never know. If Nintendo one day decides to change their stance on, fan projects and tributes, if I ever can release this, it's gonna be for free anyway. Like I don't intend to sell this or make any money out of it. Maybe, look, worst case scenario, and it is not a worst case scenario because it could be really fun for me as well. It would be to finish this and then reskin it. And what does that mean? It means every enemy, every texture, every asset, I would swap it for something else, for something other monster, other weapon, other hero, so that Nintendo doesn't have the copyright to that, and essentially it's a different game, but it's gonna keep the soul of it because at some point it started as, and it was the Legend of Zelda, right? So that's something that I could do. And again, it's just gonna take time because I'm gonna have to end up doing another game on top of this game. But that in the future could be something that I could put out there and release and share with you guys. But so essentially today I just wanted to show you the progress. AI of the enemy is pretty much done. Now I just need to refine the combat, finish it, add weapons, spawn enemies where they should, and then I need to start making the stores. The old man, the potions, the lady that sells the potions, the rupee game, heart containers, UI. All the hearts at the top, like the weapon, the inventory, the map. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's, as I said, this has been 3 weeks. This is gonna take months, so bear with me, and I hope you enjoy the journey because to me this is the fun part. I know when I finish this game after months and months, I'm gonna play for a few hours, and that's gonna be it, right? But the journey is what's fun, and sharing here, with people who might be interested in not only in Zelda but maybe the way in which you could make these games. It's quite exciting. So I have put my X underneath. I post regularly, not only about this, but like I said, I live in Japan. I collect video games. As you can see, I'm into that. Retro gaming is my thing, my jam. So if you're into that, I invite you to subscribe, like, and stay in touch. If you have any opinions, any feedback, or any ideas of that could go into this implementation, now's the time. Now's the time, right? When it's in progress, it's easier to implement things. Okay, so that's gonna be all for today. Thank you for joining and for watching, and I'll see you next time.